Hello, and welcome to the shittiest fucking podcast in the world. The shittiest fucking podcast in the whole fucking world. Oh yeah. I smoked so much fucking crack today. Oh yeah. Anyway, yeah, man. Today is October the fucking 25th. It's currently just about 1 p.m. And fucking, it's been like over 3 months since the last episode. But this is the fucking 13 subscriber special for all of you. It's fucking amazing, man. It's been really hard to deal with this newfound fame that I have. You know, every time I walk down the street, it's like everyone always stops me and they're like, "Hey, aren't you that faggot with that gay podcast? You fucking stupid loser." And then they fucking spit on me, and it's just a drag, man. You know, I can't deal with that shit anymore. It's just fucked. Yeah, but this is probably the fucking final episode because I don't want to do this anymore. No one listens to this, so I mean, there's really no point. But it's been quite a ride, man. It's been fucking. This is the 7th episode now, and I started this shit in April. It is now October, so wow, what a legacy to leave behind here, man. It's just amazing, you know. And since this is the last episode, I was considering half-assing this, but I mean, I thought about it again, and I was like, nah, just fucking do it like you always do it, you know? Since it's the last one, just who gives a shit? But, what the fuck was I gonna say? You know, like a few days ago, I was actually in Canada chat on WireClub, and I was asking people if they ever shoved the curling iron up their ass and plugged it in. Because I like to ask, you know, unique questions like that, just so I can get a proper answer. Because you can't learn about stuff unless you ask, I guess. But then there was a particular young lady in there who suggested I do that on the podcast to get more listeners, and I considered it, but then you know, because that would bring a lot more listeners if I did that. But it's just, I don't know, I kind of prefer having a functioning anus. So it's really nice to have a functioning anus, and it's really something that you kind of take for granted, you know, because once it goes away, then you're like, oh, fuck, I should have appreciated that. But you know what that lady was suggesting was that you know, nobody actually listens to this. And she's right. She's right. Nobody does listen to this. But you know, it's kind of weird that just a few months ago she got very, very upset when I used her real name on this podcast that no one listens to. Like, I don't understand. Why would you get upset if I use your first name on a podcast that no one listens to? It doesn't make any sense. So there's just some logical inconsistencies there. But I don't know, man. I actually fucking decided to show this podcast on a forum that was filled with podcast enthusiasts. And I got some feedback here, and I got several quotes here from internet strangers that I will share with you, and I will let them remain anonymous. The first quote here is, "I've literally heard the agonized screams of my children who were being burned to death in a house fire, and listening to this podcast was literally a worse experience than that." Fuck. Jesus, man. I hope that guy's okay, because that sounds pretty fucking traumatic. I got another quote here. This guy says, "I was diagnosed with cancer only a few days ago." No, hold on. I read that incorrectly. My bad. I was diagnosed with cancer only a few days after first listening to this podcast, and I highly doubt that's a coincidence. Fuck! Jesus! Been fucking giving people cancer, man. Holy shit. Fuck. Okay, okay, okay. Next quote. Maybe someone will say something nice here. This guy says, whenever my dog misbehaves, I make him listen to this shit. Wow. Fuck, man. That poor dog. I don't want to torture dogs. Fuck. Okay, so another guy says, I suffer from crippling depression and constant suicidal thoughts. This podcast only reinforces those feelings. Jesus! Holy shit! I'm waiting for somebody to say something nice here. Maybe someone will say something nice. I got a few more quotes. Another guy says, I forced myself through an entire episode and it truly made me envy the death. Oh man, that's just fucking mean. That's just fucking mean. Okay. This guy, he kind of has something good to say here. This guy right here, he says, this podcast isn't too bad. Sometimes I listen to it while doing the dishes. Yes! Yes! Thank you! Thank you! That's all I wanted. That's all I fucking wanted. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, man. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I'm just lying and I made all those quotes up. But moving on to the next segment here. Obviously, a recurring segment, if you are a recurring listener, you know that a constant theme here has been my fucking work supervisor coming in late. Fucking comes in late every day, and I gotta fucking wait for this fuck. But today, since it's the final episode, it only makes sense that we conclude that saga of Chris coming in late. And I think I may have done that today, actually, because today I decided to be a fucking cunt and email our boss about it. I just felt like I had to do that. And I'm going to read you the email that I sent to our boss. You're going to hear me sound pretty professional, also known as fake. But, you got to do what you got to do in a professional setting. But the email is as follows. By the way, our boss's name is Steve, so it goes, Hi, Steve. This is Louie from work address. There's a matter that I feel needs to be brought to your attention. I didn't want to involve you in this, but trying to resolve it with Chris has given me no results. He has been late almost every day by at least 5 minutes since he has started working here. I've brought this up to him several times and made him aware that this is a problem, yet it keeps happening. I understand that Chris has a long commute to work, but that this is no excuse. He needs to leave for work earlier if that's the case. If he's unable to get here early, I'm okay with that, but he needs to be at the front desk by 8 a.m. I'm sending you this email in hopes that you can help him change his ways, because I don't know what else to do about it. Chris is a good supervisor and an asset to the team, but his constant lateness is unacceptable. Thank you. Yeah, man, so I think I was pretty fair with that email. I didn't throw him under the bus. I fucking gave him a nice little compliment there. So he has nothing to be pissed off at me about. Yeah, man. And we're supposed to get there 15 minutes early. And he never does that, of course. So that's why I said here, if he doesn't want to get here earlier, I'm okay with that. Just he needs to be there by 8 a.m., which I think is pretty fair. But, I don't even feel good about writing that fucking email because I just feel like a snitch. And I feel like a fucking tattletale. And I feel like I'm whining, but I don't know what else to do about it. I fucking brought that shit up to the guy at least 4 times and it keeps happening. So I gotta play this card and see what happens. It had to be done. It had to be done. I don't know what else I want to say about it, but yeah, I mean, that's about it. Just, I fucking hope he just starts fucking coming in early or on time. Anyway, I have a story to share with all of you, and please forgive me in advance because the memories are kind of fuzzy. There's a lot of alcohol involved. It was a long time ago. I believe I was 18 at the time. Hold on, let me get a burp out here. Oh, that was garbage. Anyway, so as some of you may know, I was kind of a troubled youth growing up when I was a teenager. This particular day of this story, I was just home alone. I was fucking unemployed. Wasn't going to school. I just basically stayed home, and I was a piece of shit all day. But on this day, I went to the back room of my house and I found some like fucking shitty fucking whiskey. I think it was whiskey. I don't know, some kind of liquor. But I fucking grabbed that shit. I brought it to my room and I proceeded to drink it. And I kept drinking it until I was pretty fucking drunk. And I kept drinking it to the point where I was basically seeing double. And I really couldn't walk properly at all. But once I was in that state, I decided that it was a great idea to grab the phone and start dialing random numbers. So, I dialed random numbers and fucking anyone who answered, I told them that I had a gun and I was going to blow my brains out. Yeah, but fucking most of these people who heard me tell them this, they just kind of laughed it off and they just hung up. Like either they knew I was just fucking around and joking or they just didn't give a shit. But then there was fucking one particular lady who, when I told her this, she took it very, very seriously. And she stayed on the phone with me. And I believe she was at work at the time. So, yeah, she stayed on the line with me and she kept talking to me and stuff. And I just kept like feeding her bullshit and like trolling her and stuff. And I was like, my dad beats me every day. I want to die and shit like that. Because it was funny to me. I was just being a prick. And I mean, I was even like listening to some death metal at the time. I was listening to this song called The Gallery of Suicide. And I like played it on the phone for her. And she didn't like that very much. But fucking at a certain point in the conversation, she told me to hold on, and she went away somewhere. And so I assume that that's the fucking point where she called the cops, right? I mean, that only makes sense. But anyway, she was gone for a little bit. She came back on the line, and she kept talking to me. And at a certain point during the conversation, I heard a big commotion going outside in my backyard. And I even think my dad had come back home at that point because he was still living in this house at the time, and he had gone somewhere. I was home alone drinking while he was out, like I said. But I believe he had come back during the commotion that I heard, and he was in the backyard. And I just assumed it was him fucking with the neighbors or something because he had done that before, and like, he was like a shit disturber who caused problems with everyone around him. So I assume that's what it was, but it sounded a little bit more hectic than usual. And I was still talking to this lady on the phone, and I told her, I'm like, oh, some shit's going on outside. And she's like, oh, you should go outside and check on it. You should go see what's going on. So I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? So I still have the phone in my hand, and I opened my backyard door, because I live in a basement, and I peeked out my backyard, and I fucking see police officers pointing guns at me. They're like wearing helmets and shit. I think they were in like SWAT gear. they're fucking pointing guns at me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, put your hands in the air and put the phone down. We're not going to hurt you, son. I'm like, holy shit, I'm still fucking wasted at this point. So I just put the phone down immediately. I didn't even say goodbye to the lady or anything. Just put the phone down and, yeah, put my hands in the air. They told me to turn around. I turned around. I believe they told me to put my hands on my head. So I did that. And then they asked me to fucking walk backwards to them while I'm fucking still shit-faced. And that was very difficult. That was very difficult because I said, like I said earlier, I could barely fucking walk. But, and there, I mean, there was even like a little fucking set of steps in my backyard that leads to the door to my house. So, like I said, I live in a basement, and I had to walk up that little flight of stairs. I had to walk up that shit backwards while I was wasted, and it was very challenging, but I did it. So I walked all the way backwards to these cops, and they grabbed a hold of me. They immediately handcuffed me, and they fucking dragged me backwards to their vehicles. And I'm fucking wearing, like flimsy boxer shorts and a t-shirt and fucking house slippers that are flying off my feet while they're dragging me. I'm like, bro, fuck, take it easy, man. But anyway, yeah, fucking, yeah, man. They put me in the back of their car, and at that point, I wasn't feeling very good, especially considering the situation. And I heard a fucking rumbling in my stomach. And my stomach, I guess, was like, hey, dude, this is like the only opportunity you're ever going to get to puke in the back of a cop car, man. We should do it. We should do it, man. And I'm like, dude, no, 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 no. Don't fucking do that. This is a bad enough situation as it is. Don't fucking puke, please. I'm begging you. Don't fucking release the vomit. And my stomach's like, oh man, fuck, it's gonna be awesome. Let's do this shit, yeah. And then I fucking puked all over the back seat while I was handcuffed. And I think I got some on my shirt as well. But I distinctly remember one of the police officers opening the door after that, and he was just like, oh, why my car, man? But yeah, I think after that, they pulled me out, and my shirt had puke on it, I believe. So, they wanted to take it off me, but they didn't want to uncuff me. So these fucking assholes just cut it off with some scissors. So that was kind of a dick move. I mean, you could have just uncuffed me first, but I guess they didn't want to take any risks. Anyway, yeah, after that, I believe they put me in an ambulance, and I was handcuffed the whole way, lying on a gurney, fucking, and they're driving me to the hospital. And I believe it was on my way there that they searched my room and my house, I guess. But yeah, they turned my room upside down, searching for a fucking gun that didn't exist. So I guess that must have been kind of frustrating for them. But and I was always curious, like exactly how thorough they were with the search, like because I mean, just a bunch of cops. The idea of a bunch of cops snooping around your room it makes me feel uncomfortable, looking at all your shit and just I don't know. Oh fuck. Oh yeah. Anyway, these memories are very fuzzy. This part of the story, but at some point, I get to the hospital and I find myself handcuffed to a gurney, and I wasn't even like in a room or anything. I think it was in a hallway, or like the lobby or something like that. But somehow these fucking goofs, they couldn't uncuff me when it was time to like take the cuffs off me. Like I guess they lost the key or some shit. I don't know. But at a certain point they had to use fucking bolt cutters to cut that shit off to release me. these fucking imbeciles. And yeah, man, I distinctly remember just being in a complete daze, and these fuckers had like a giant, serious pair of bolt cutters, really just directed right on my wrist, and they're cutting these fucking cuffs off me. And like during this moment, I remember just thinking like, wow, something can go really badly here, and like they can just sever a fucking artery. But I was really just too fucked up to actually give a shit. But fucking yeah, at some point during my visit there, they were demanding like a urine sample and stuff for whatever reason. I don't know. They wanted to see if I was on drugs or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they want to do. So they started making me drink water because I couldn't take a piss. So I started forcibly drinking some water from you know, one of those fucking thingies. And, you know, it was taking some time for me to piss. And these fuckers had no patience. And there was a security guard there who actually threatened that they might have to put a catheter up my dick if I wasn't going to piss. And I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck? It's just going to take some time. Like, can't you faggots wait? Just take some fucking time for the water to go through my body. Jesus. You know, like, it's pretty drastic to put a catheter up someone's dick just to get a urine sample. Anyway, eventually family and friends started coming over after they found out what happened. My mom came, and my godmother came, and her fucking daughters. And it was very shameful and embarrassing, as you can imagine. But yeah, I had to answer a whole bunch of stupid questions and shit. Not only from my family, but from doctors and nurses and stuff. Because, you know, they're trying to get to the bottom of it. But I just fucking wanted to go home. And yeah, I was very adamant in telling them, yeah, okay, the shit's over with. Can I go home now? I'm going to go home. I want to go home. And they're like, nope, nope, can't go home. And eventually my family left after several hours, and I was forced to stay in the hospital, and I was on suicide watch. So that's interesting. That was a very interesting experience. It seemed extremely unnecessary because I wasn't really going to kill myself. But if you've ever been on suicide watch, it makes you feel very important. So, I mean, that's kind of nice, I guess. But fucking, I think it was the next day or whatever that they transferred me to a mental hospital. And I don't remember much about that part specifically. The only thing I really remember was, you know, it was morning and I was like having breakfast and stuff with everybody else. And there was some guy there who was going around saying good morning to people, one of the patients. And, you know, most people would just say good morning back, whatever. But some guys, like, some people there, they didn't want to say good morning back for whatever reason. Like, they were just, like, in a shit mood, or they didn't want to talk to him. And this guy was getting, like, hostile with other patients who didn't say good morning back to him. Like, you were like, what the fuck? I said good morning to you. You can't say good morning back to me? What the fuck, man? And so I saw that, and I'm like, okay, when this guy says good morning to me, I'm just going to say yes, good morning back to him. So I didn't want any problems. But it seems kind of that seems kind of strange to get upset about. But you know, I remember years before this happened, when I was a kid, my dad was driving me in his van somewhere, and we drove past this very mental hospital that I was currently in, and he pointed at it and he said to me, Louis, that's where they put the crazy people. And I was like, oh, okay. So I think that was like the first time I saw a mental hospital when I was a kid, and I thought it was interesting. And the ironic part is both me and my dad ended up in that fucking place years later. So that's kind of funny. But I think after a day, maybe a day or two in that particular mental hospital, they moved me again. They transferred me to a different mental hospital. It was fucking CAMH, and it was like a specific unit for young adults, like teenagers and young adults. And CAMH, if you don't know, stands for Center for Addiction and Mental Health. So they put me there, and I still wanted to fucking go home. It had been several days, and I'm like, fuck, is this enough already? Can I just fucking go home? And when I was first in there, I told them that I was going on a hunger strike until they fucking, released me. But they quickly changed my mind on that. They're like, Louis, it's just going to make the process take even longer. You should definitely eat. It's not going to help your case here. Just fucking eat. And they had a lot of good food there, so I was like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll fucking eat. Lots of good food, lots of good food. Man, I fucking gained weight when I was in there, let me tell you. Fucking, they had, full course meals and fucking snacks in between and shit. So, I mean, I fucking ate a lot in there, and I fucking got nice and fat. But, they also immediately put me on medication while I was in there. They put me on this shit called Seroquel, which I believe is an antipsychotic. And it wasn't very fun being on that shit. They would give it to you at night, which makes sense because this shit would make me super drowsy and just fucking hit the hay like a brick. But the worst part of it was, for some reason, it really made my nose stuffy. So it was like really fucking hard to breathe. And that was like not just annoying, but it was like really concerning how difficult it was to fucking inhale oxygen after I took that shit. But whatever. There was a lot of interesting characters in there. A lot of interesting characters, as you can imagine. There was one dude who was always wearing sunglasses, always had to hide his eyes, and he just basically walked the hallways all day. Up and down, up and down, up and down. That's all he did. Fucking like literally all day, up until a point where we either had to eat or, he had to go to the bathroom, or one of the doctors or nurses had to have a little chat with him. That's basically pretty much all he did. Just walk the hallways. There's a long-haired guy in there named Fred who was pretty cool. He was in there for cutting himself, he told me. He would cut himself a lot, I guess, but I never really saw any of his scars or wounds. But I hung out with him a lot and played ping pong with him and shit, and played video games together and stuff. There was a depressed cokehead guy that I remember who was just like, he was like pretty much like a zombie. Didn't really show many emotions. So I guess he was there trying to get clean or whatever. There was some black guy with an afro who could never stop talking to himself. He was kind of cool too, but I didn't know how to communicate with him because he was always just talking to himself. And some guys actually got pissed off at him. I remember one particular guy got annoyed at this black dude because we wouldn't stop talking to himself, and he was sitting on the couch watching TV, and this other dude was like, dude, shut up, I'm trying to watch TV. And then another dude's like, dude, he can't help it, man, leave him alone. There was another guy who seemed like he didn't even belong in there. Like, he seemed so normal, but I believe his wife had left him, and that's why he was in there. He was like under like some really serious depression that he didn't really show. It was always bizarre to me, like why he was even in there, until I found out that his wife left him. Then it kind of made sense. There was a fucking like this really religious pothead kid who would he was always like rapping to himself and stuff, like walking down the hallways, listening to music and like just rapping to himself. It was kind of obnoxious, but he was quite an interesting character. And I believe actually he had friends over who smuggled some pot in for him, and they got high in the fucking smoking room. There was a fucking Indian guy in there who was like obsessed with Dragon Ball Z, and this fucking guy never cut his toenails. It was disgusting. He's fucking walking around in these slippers, and you could see his toenails were like all overgrown and shit. It was fucking gross. But this guy was always watching Dragon Ball Z whenever he could, when it was on TV, and like sometimes the nurses would be like yelling at him, "Hey, it's fucking time for your medication." And he's like, "Wait, Dragon Ball Z's almost over." The fucking security guards would have to come up to him and be like, "Hey, you have to go and take your meds now." It's like, "Okay, wait, I have to see the previews for the next episode." But yeah, it was really interesting in there. I think the craziest guy, or the wildest guy who was in there, was a dude who was supposedly in there for stealing a cop car. Supposedly, I don't remember who told me this, but I think he stole a cop car and he had some kind of mental, mental illness history. So the cops brought him there instead of prison. I remember waking up one morning, hearing this guy fucking screaming like at the top of his lungs. And I guess the nurses and the doctors were trying to put him in some kind of room that he didn't feel comfortable in. I guess it was like some kind of small enclosure because this guy was like, "I'm claustrophobic. I don't want to be in here. I'm claustrophobic." And it was kind of disturbing, actually, to wake up to that shit. But maybe even more disturbing, there was actually a moment during the night that I remember where I was laying in bed and like passed out, or kind of half passed out. And yeah, I'm trying to fucking sleep. And this guy just walks into my room and he's like standing uh, next to my fucking bed. And I had my knee up, like under the covers, like my foot was on the bed, and my knee was up. And for some reason, he touches my knee. He touched my knee, and I kind of woke up to that, and I was like, "What do you want, man?" And I don't remember what he said, but like right after I said something to him, there was a nurse at my door, and she's like, "Hey, get out of there! That's not your room. Get out of there." So who the fuck knows what he had in mind? I doubt it was some gay shit, because he had a girlfriend who would visit him there that I remember, and she was pretty fucking obnoxious, actually. She's very loud and annoying. Yeah, but I'm glad that nurse showed up when she did, because I don't know what the fuck he was gonna do. But yeah, man, I mean, I was in there for about a month. I think maybe a little bit over a month or something. And it actually wasn't bad. I mean, at first, like, I just wanted to go home, and I was like, "Fuck this shit, this sucks." Then I kind of got used to it. And like I said, the food was really good. And, there was internet access, which was cool, because at the time I didn't even have internet at home, believe it or not. So it was nice to have internet access. And they had fucking video games and shit. Like I said, I was playing video games with Fred. They had fucking N64 there, man. They had like really good quality wrestling games for that system. They had GoldenEye, which is one of the best games on the fucking system. And I spent most of my time there just playing video games. And the nurses were kind of bothered by that. They would tell me, like, "Oh, go do other stuff." I'm like, "Nah, man, I just want to fucking play GoldenEye." I literally beat every level of the fucking game, including the bonus stages, when I was in that place. And I would play multiplayer a lot with Fred, and he would usually fucking kill me. It was really good. Uh, but anyway, when I got out, they wanted to continue the medication. They wanted to continue giving me Seroquel. So, yeah, they gave it to my mother, who would give me a pill every night to fucking take. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not gonna fucking take this shit. These are like serious fucking psychotropic drugs that I don't need. So basically, when she would give me these pills, I would just fucking put it in my mouth, and then I would go to my room and I'd spit it out. Yeah, man. But yeah, I wouldn't take it. And I think like immediately after I got out of that place, I got a caseworker, as they call it. And yeah, we had to go to like some meetings and stuff or whatever. But eventually, she was able to get me on like a disability payment plan, mental disability. So I started getting free money, and that was really nice because I at that point in my life I never even had a job or anything. So this was like the very first time I actually started getting my own money, and it was from disability checks. So that was cool. But I would not suggest doing what I did. It's definitely not a good idea. But yeah, man, it was an interesting experience. And I'm happy to tell you about that little story. So that's pretty much the end of it. And yeah, moving on. Moving on. I wanted to talk a little bit about brown toilet paper. And what is brown toilet paper, you might ask, besides, feces on toilet paper? Oh, brown toilet paper was a band that I used to play in many years ago. And there's actually still a bunch of live show videos on YouTube that you can find and stuff, and some music recordings as well. And yeah, man, I once saw a comment on one of these videos from a guy who said we made it on a website called worstbandnames.com. And at first when I saw that comment, I thought he was joking. Like, I just thought he was making fun of our name, which makes sense, of course. But then I actually searched that supposed website, and it was a real website. And I fucking saw an article that some dude wrote where he was like roasting the band. It's pretty fucking hilarious. He's like just breaking it down and like telling us how shitty we are and stuff. But it was a good article. I don't think that fucking website exists anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, it would have been nice if I saved it, like taking some screenshots of that. But yeah, man, fucking. I actually started this band with some friends shortly after the Nut House experience. Yeah, it wasn't very long after I was out of there that we started this band, and we pretty much immediately started playing shows after we wrote some songs, and we had song titles like fucking. It was just really dumb shit like fucking. I hate wiping my ass. And I'm so fucking lazy. A nation of masturbation. Fucking drink and smoke. That was a nice one. And fucking. Do you want to fight me? Black bitch. Yeah, black bitch. What else did we fucking have? Yeah, we did an anal cunt song cover of I Noticed That You're Gay. So that was cool. Fucking. We even had a song once that we didn't play very much called Fuck the Cathedral. And the cathedral was actually a venue that existed in Toronto years ago that has since shut down. It no longer exists. But at some point, we literally played that song on their stage, which we thought was hilarious. Because we were like literally saying "fuck you" while we're while we're in there playing on their stage. So that was funny. But yeah, what else did I fucking want to say? BTP wasn't. I can't honestly say it was a very good band, but we definitely put on some entertaining performances at least. We did a lot of shenanigans on stage. Like we wore fucking these stupid costumes and did dumb shit. We like fucking body slammed each other and dumb stuff like that on stage. And actually, fucking what became my trademark was this thing I invented called thumbtack arm wrestling. We would do this on stage during our set. Basically, thumbtack arm wrestling. It was basically inspired by pro wrestling. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and sometimes in pro wrestling they have what are known as hardcore matches, right, where they use fucking objects and shit. So sometimes in hardcore matches they use thumbtacks. They pour thumbtacks all over the fucking ring mat or whatever, and then wrestlers will get slammed on this shit, and it's kind of bloody and a little bit gory. So thumbtack arm wrestling was inspired by that, and if you need me to describe what thumbtack arm wrestling was, it was basically like normal arm wrestling, except on each side of the fucking table, there was a pile of thumbtacks, right? So the loser would get an armful of tacks, right? So when I brought this idea up to the band, there was no other guy in the band who was willing to get a fucking armful of tacks. So, I really wanted to do this on stage. So I would always purposely fucking lose every match, just to give the fans or the audience something to see. Put on a little show. But it was fun because I really enjoyed the audience reaction. They were always like shocked and like, "What the fuck are these faggots doing? What the fuck?" And my arm would get all bloody, and I would basically, like I said, we would do this in the middle of the set. So I would be playing the rest of the songs of the set with fucking thumbtacks sticking out of my arms, and bleeding. So that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would also kick myself in the head sometimes on stage, if you can imagine that. Like, my leg is pretty flexible in a certain direction. Like, when you're sitting on the floor with your legs crossed, like that's the way I would kick my head, if you can imagine that. But fucking yeah, man. I think the peak of this band was when we joined a contest that was run by a company called Emergenza. And I recently looked them up, and they still exist. They're still going strong. But this was like a contest. It was like kind of like a battle of the bands thing, where the bands would play a show, and then the audience would vote to see who would go on to the next round. So it was a kind of like a tournament style thing. And BTP had played the first show, and it was a pretty good show. People enjoyed it, and yeah, a lot of the audience voted for us to move on to the next round. So we had made it to the next round, right? And so yeah, we were excited about that. We're like, yeah, man, we can do well in this contest. We can do some shit here. So basically, our guitar player Adrian, who was pretty much like the leader of the band, he fucking took care a lot. He took a lot of the care of a lot of the just basically running the band, setting up shows, getting us to the venue and stuff. So he's pretty much the leader, and this guy was preparing heavily for this fucking second round show. He fucking rented a fucking smoke machine and lights and shit, and he had even recorded a thing at home with his fucking recording equipment. He recorded like an intro before we even started our set for us to like make separate entrances onto the stage. So it was kind of innovative. He put a lot of effort into that shit. But anyway, it's almost time for us to play. It's almost time for us to go on stage and play our set. And we notice our singer, Simon, is just fucking missing. He's like not around, even though he was there earlier. He came with us, and we knew he had been drinking and stuff, but he's just fucking gone. And we're starting to get worried. We're like, what the fuck, man? We're about to go on stage, and our singer's he just disappeared. So we assumed he'd like fucked off or got lost or something. Yeah, man. But we were concerned, and not only for the fucking show, but we're wondering, like, did this guy fucking die or some shit? Like, did he get hurt? Because we knew he was kind of a crazy guy, and he was getting pretty wasted. So who knows? But anyway, we had to start the show without him, unfortunately. And fucking, well, I think we played like maybe a song and a half without him there. And Adrian is trying to make up for it. He's playing the songs and playing guitar and trying to do vocals at the same time. But it wasn't the same without Simon, because that was his thing. And I think it was like in the middle of song number 2 where Simon just fucking shows up out of nowhere, and he's like fucking wasted, and he just walks up on stage like he's some kind of rock star, and he's like fucking fashionably late, like he was too cool to be there from the beginning. But it was good to see him, and it was good to see that he made it. So he starts doing his thing, and we're like, okay, finally he's here. So we got a show to do now, and like I said, fucking Adrian pulled out all the stops for the show, and we had like everything going, trying to fucking do the best we could to make it to the third round. We even had just buddies up on stage fucking around wearing costumes who weren't even like musicians. They weren't even there playing any instrument. They were just like they're just like props almost. But yeah, man, fucking basically, I believe the last song before the set stopped was we were playing a song called "Sammy is a Faggot," and that song was actually about my cousin, who I had beef with at the time because of some family drama. But yeah, we wrote that song about him. So we're playing that song, and Simon is singing "Sammy is a fucking faggot." But basically, right at the end of the song, our buddy Paul, who was one of the guys who was just on stage fucking around wearing a costume, Paul pushes Simon, and instead of actually describing what happened, I'm just going to actually show you a clip right now of what happened. So enjoy. Yeah, so yeah, that fucking show just crashed and burned after that. We actually got disqualified by the fucking company, Emergenza. We got disqualified from the contest, and they were claiming that it was because of quote unquote bigotry or using profane language, which was, the word faggot. But that was very strange to say that. I'm pretty sure it was because of that incident that you just saw. Because there were other bands that were playing before us. There was one particular band who was talking about. He was literally talking about drowning kittens. Like this guy on the fucking mic before the song starts. I remember he's like, "Does anybody in the crowd have a cat? You have a kitten?" And so people are like, "Yeah, I have a kitten." And he's like, "I'm gonna drown it." And then they proceeded to play a song about drowning kittens. So I mean, it's kind of a double standard, kind of hypocritical and weird that you can have that and be okay with that, but not be okay with using a particular word as an insult. Yeah, it's bizarre, but yeah, that was pretty much. I think that was the peak of the band. We played more shows after that and stuff, but just most of them just were kind of not as good. They were kind of boring. The band just kind of fizzled out after that. There wasn't as much excitement, not as much showmanship, not as much interest. People got bored of us too, much like this podcast. But sometimes I look back and I think, who knows what would have happened? Maybe we would have gotten really far in the contest. Maybe we would have even won. I highly doubt it, but yeah, I think we could have at least got to the third round and maybe got some more fans, some more recognition. But maybe Paul just put an end to all that by pushing Simon. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the WireClub segment of this podcast. What I'd like to do right now is enter Canada chat without anyone seeing me. And I'm going to read a little bit of the conversation that is currently occurring here in WireClub on Canada chat. Let me see here. Best Behavior says, "You guys are so mean today. Oh my god." Zapter says, "I wish I could interview BB's ex-BF." Badsal says, "Did you like dating the Russian, BB?" Zapter says, "That would be a #1 podcast too." Well, how about that? Look at that coincidence right there. Best behavior says, yeah, I miss him. Badsal says, I see. Zapter says, see punk, uncensored. Badsal says, you didn't find him too, quote unquote, barbarian? Zapter says, another great get. Just her threatening women on chat for 30 minutes. Homer for you, join the room. Badsal says, and Badsal. Best behavior says, nah, he was pretty great. Badsal says, threatening women and Badsal. Zapter says, oh, that's right. She hates Badsal, lol. Rick left the room. A Sweet left the room. Groove Girl says, I always see everyone talking about C-Punk, but I never actually see her in here. Zapter says, she's here. Best behavior says, she's here. Zapter says, she's always here. Best behavior says, yep. How the fuck do you read this person's name? Bats and sticks and things. Okay, join the room. Best behavior, say hi, Groove. Badsal, hi, Groove. Groove Girl, under an unassumed name? Best behavior, nope. Zapter says, I think most people would stop coming here if they knew how many people obsessively ghost this room. Ha ha! Another coincidence! Just like I'm doing right now. Best behavior says, under no name. Groove Girl says, hi, Sal. Best behavior, Groove, you can check how many people are watching. Really? How do you do that? Badsal says, how do you do that? Yes, I concur. Groove Girl says, I'm on my phone. Limited chat functionality. Yeah, I heard a lot of bad things about the WireClub app. Like, it's just garbage. I even tried it out a little bit. It's just wonky. I don't know. I don't understand why people use that shit. Just go on a fucking laptop or something. Anyway, Badsal says Groove is talking on her telephone and also typing chat on her computer at the same time. Best behavior says, look at how many are here. Count them. Then go to the homepage where it says like 35 people currently here. Really? That's it? Badsal, I emote. Best behavior, and then like subtract the first number from that one, and yeah, that's how many people. Brandon, C-Punk, Guac, and Louie. Sorry. Zapter says, Brandon, if still living. Yeah, he probably killed himself, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Brandon. Best behavior says, Zap, be nice. Groove Girl says, yeah, I don't think I'm that curious to find out. Too much research for what I'm here for. Zapter says, I can't imagine like snot bubble crying over any woman. WXMan50 left the room. Zapter says, but especially one I've never met. Yeah, it's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Best behavior, Zap, be nice. Badsal, Brandon has snot? Oh, Sal's awesome. Fender Telecaster 2018 joined the room. Howie 2012 left the room. Zapter, yes, little baby boogers. Groove Girl says, he might sell you some if you ask nicely, Sal. Badsal says, maybe he was crying because of the snot and not the woman. Oh, fuck. Best behavior says, you guys shut up. You're so gross. I will block you. Groove Girl, shrug emote. Badsal, maybe the snot crying was a circular reference. Groove Girl, sorry? Badsal, so like he had snot, then cried because of the snot, then the crying caused more snot. Oh, fuck. Zapter, BB, are you working today? Best behavior. Badsal blocked as fuck. Badsal, which caused more crying. Maybe some of the snot dripped. Groove Girl, LOL, blocked as fuck. Best behavior. Zap, I worked all night. Brown Habs fan joined the room. Groove Girl, laughing, crying emote. Fender Telecaster 2018 left the room. Badsal into his belly button and pooled. Oh, yeah. Brown Habs fan left the room. Zapter, did you get all your work done? Bad Sal. And then overflowed down to his anus. Groove Girl, Sal, she blocked you. You can stop now. Evie joined the room. High heel boy left the room. Groove Girl, Evie, kissing emote. Best behavior, my work is never done. Bad Sal, blocked me? Best behavior, fucking weird emote face thing. Groove Girl, main. Evie, groove, kiss emote. Groove Girl, maybe. Zapter, has Lala commented on your pic yet? Best behavior, no, because I'm fucking blocked. Yeah, fucking Lala's block list is quite substantial, and I know that I'm on it. Many people are on it. Groove Girl, sad face. Zapter, we should all take one for Lalaween. Initiate our fave Lala pick. Or, I mean, imitate our fave Lala pick. Yeah, man. We should all fucking dress up as that cunt. I don't know. Groove Girl, Lala blocks everyone. As I just said earlier. Best behavior, that's what I'm saying! Evie, puke emote. She's so gross and desperate. Yeah, Evie knows what's up. Groove Girl, she's a bit sensitive. Zapter, I call dibs on the skin-tight pleather BDSM suit. Yeah, that'll be a decent costume. Gilfoyle says, diarrhea. Best behavior, what an entrance. Gilfoyle, I never left. Best behavior, oh, whoops. Well, you stop talking, that's even worse. Groove Girl, LOL. Ryanu7 joined the room. Groove Girl, I feel like I shouldn't work till Monday. Shrug emote. Gilfoyle, and she told us either she uses anal to cure constipation or diarrhea. I can't remember which. Wow. That's quite a cure right there. Best behavior says, Groove, honestly, just quit your job. Evie says, I feel like you shouldn't either. Groove Girl says, my employer feels otherwise. RUJs joined the room. Best behavior, quit. Groove Girl, why? RUJs, I emote. Best behavior, who did? Evie, hey Jays, big hug emote. Groove Girl, I love my job. Best behavior, Groove, you're a sculpture, right? RUJs, hugging emote. Barry Keefe joined the room. Groove Girl, haha, no, I do that for shits and giggles. Gerbs left the room. Best behavior, oh! Groove Girl, I work in IT. I didn't know that, actually. Evie, LOL. Best behavior, oh, nice. Groove Girl, and I work from home. RUJs, she's an escort, whistle. From home. She's sculpting me nude, Evie says, but there's not enough clay. Wow, did Evie just call herself fat? Interesting. Gilfoyle, Lala did. RUJs, I emote. Okay, this is getting kind of boring. Let's see how much further here I can go. Groove Girl, an IT escort. Best behavior, hot. Groove Girl, I bang servers. RUJs, she makes clay peeners. And then Zapter links a profile called Sexy Stripper 8. And yeah, I think I've seen this profile actually. Yeah, it's clearly a fake profile. Yeah. This chick's got these big old ball implants on her chest. Why do women do this shit to themselves? Pay tons of fucking dollars to get giant balls on their chest. Anyway, and then Zapter says, legit as fuck. Being sarcastic, I assume. Groove Girl, I bang servers with clay peeners. Zapter, Remy0405 says, nice rack 5 days ago. Best behavior, whoa, hello. RUJ, Zap, crying, laughing emote. Barry Keefe, what have I walked into? Zapter, she's in Brampton, Jays, go meet her. Gonna get catfished. Best behavior, LOL, he commented nice lips on this one. RUJs, I'm good. Groove Girl, sexy stripper is real. RUJs, LOL, best behavior. Links another one of her pictures. Zapter, Remy0405 to Not Diabla says, morning, 8 hours ago. Remy is very persistent. I've seen that, but he doesn't seem to get any results, unfortunately. But what do I know? Evie says, I'm surprised Doc Ontario hasn't found her yet. Best Behavior says, what the fuck? Why hasn't he harassed me? Wow, now she's getting jealous for not being harassed. Zapter says, Remy0405 said to Diabla, hi, 2 days ago. Are you Jay's? Is that a wool bikini? Ryanu7 left the room. Zapter, you don't show off the goods, BB. Your Frito Bandito pick won't get it done for Remy. Barry Keefe, what bikini? Didn't see the bikini. RUJ's shrug emote. Looks like a tea cozy. Zapter says, Grandma's quilt titties. Groove Girl tit cozy. You were close, Jays. RUJ's nodding emote. Wise Viper joined the room. RUJ's warm boobs are important. Best Behavior. This is the max amount of skin I'm willing to show on wire. Sad face. Zapter says this chick is one of her friends. And then he links another chick's profile who is obviously another fake account. And then he says, when catfishes unite. Heart emote. Yeah, Zapter knows what's up, as usual. But I think I'm about done reading this. Yeah, that was a good read, man. That was a good read for the most part. Good shit going on here. So what I'd like to do at this moment now is read through a comment that Mr. Badsal left on one of the pics I uploaded, because it's pretty fucking good, so I wanted to share it with you guys before I open up my inbox. Yeah, let me just close this. Yeah, so here's the pic that Sal commented on. I'll put it up on the podcast for you to see what he's talking about, because that's kind of important at this moment. So Bad Sal's comment was, okay, this is what happened. Guy is really squeamish about using public restrooms, so everywhere he goes, he carries with him a quote-unquote public bathroom safety kit. The kit contains suspension cables, a full pack of Kleenex, paper towels, and a canned sanitizer. Sal continues saying, so he feels some heavy runs coming on and he sets up his rig. You can see the orange suspension cables next to the toilet paper rigged to the wall and dangling from the ceiling. You can also see all his other goods on the back of the toilet. His plan was to dangle himself 6 inches above the toilet to poo so his squeamish ass butt wouldn't have to touch the toilet seat. Unfortunately, just as his poo was spraying out, just as his poo was spraying, one of the cables came loose and he fell down, causing his poo to miss the toilet and hit the seat. The poo on the seat caused him to slip violently as he landed on the toilet from the suspension rig. As he slid out of control violently off to the side, his head hit the shitty part of the toilet, knocking him unconscious. And it's at this point that the photo was taken. All his cleanup goods are still in their spot untouched. You can also see a spot in the center of the shit splatter where his head rebounded off the ground, bouncing him to his current position. Yeah, man. I thought that was a wonderfully beautiful comment. Yeah, man. Just wanted to share that with you because it definitely made me laugh. But let's see here. I think it's time to open up my inbox. And I definitely did not receive very many messages to read for this particular episode, which is definitely one of the reasons why this shit is ending. That there is not much interest left in this program. But let me open up my inbox here. And I have already read all of these. Like the last episode, that was the first time I actually read all the fucking inbox messages first. I did the same shit here. So let me just fucking open one up here. Okay, and we've got a fucking story here from Sal. This is supposedly a story from his past with a sad face in the title. So, I'm going to read this for you. It's another thing from Bad Sal. Here we go. I thought it was time that I shared another story from my past. This is an origin story and describes my true Mormon heritage. It all started when a sect of big Mormons moved from Utah to British Columbia and founded Bountiful, BC, after World War II. Bountiful was founded so that the governing patriarchs could marry underage women by the handful. It is a community of patriarchal polygamy, that is, men can have many wives, but women cannot have many husbands. This is the story of two women in a patriarchal polygamist relationship. I never knew my father, but he had many, many wives, two of which were my mother. Living in a family with 30 sister wives took a toll on my mother's. As with all of their sister wives, each of my mothers joined the family alone and as a child, superficially welcomed by the sisters at first, but then savagely jeered and mocked in wave after wave of passive-aggressive attacks. For each of my mothers, it was not until a new bride was taken by the man that the abuse from the other sisters stopped, or rather was transferred onto the new wife. Although my mothers participated in the abuse at first, they did so with heavy hearts and found themselves retreated emotionally and physically from the group. This is how they found each other. At first, it was just talking. They talked about how they hated the other sisters and how much it hurt them to be excluded and mocked, about how they felt the new wife's pain every time the family grew by one more wife. What they never talked about was their hate for the man they bonded them into the life lived. They hated their mutual husband. When the man called on them individually late at night for their wifely duties, they would retreat to each other once the deed was done. They would retreat to each other more and more over the frustrations their lives of patriarchal bondage were causing them. They retreated within each other until over time the retreat bloomed into love. After one wild night of engagement after the fall harvest feast, one of my mothers became Gregnart with me. That was the moment they chose to escape Bountiful and start a new life. They fled the home together to the wilderness. They spent 7 months in the bush, and each of my mothers could snap a man's neck like a twig. It was the heaviness of the pregnancy that drew them out of the woods and into society. Were it not, I would have been born feral. I have my mothers to thank. I was conceived of 2 women. There you go. There you go. Now you guys know more, a little bit about Sal. He has 2 fucking mothers, man. I don't know how that works, but I mean, you got to believe him. You have to believe him. So I'm going to move on here to the next inbox message I got here. So Lakar sent me like a fucking shit ton of questions because she's like a super fan, I guess. But she said that they were quote unquote lame questions. So let's see exactly how lame they are. I've read these before, but I kind of forgot what she sent. Let me remind myself here. If you are able to disclose such information, what is the most intense thing that has happened to you at work or that you were a part of? I mean, there's a few stories that come to mind. Early on when I was working there was like a really big leak that happened during my shift. And I was still like a fucking newbie security guard. And I didn't really know how to react to it. What I should have done was really inform either our work supervisor or the property management right away about this. But I didn't do that. What I was trying to do was call plumbers late in the fucking night, and I couldn't get a hold of anyone. So I was frustrated, and I was like, I don't know what else to fucking do. I'm not getting any answer from these plumbers to take care of this. So basically, the fucking leak, it happened. It just went on like all night. I fucked up hard. I was really inexperienced, and basically this leak happened after a blackout, and when the power came back on, this fucking leak happened. when everything came back running. And it was coming from the mechanical room on the roof. So this fucking leak was like dripping down through every fucking floor. It was like getting soaked up in the carpets and the walls. And it dripped down like all the way to the fucking ground floor. So it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And it left some like a substantial amount of damage to the building. That it was easily repaired, but I mean, it took some time. And it was pretty much all my fault for not reacting appropriately. And I felt really guilty about it. I definitely got a handful of shit for it. But I still worked there, and I learned from my mistake. So that was kind of intense. But what else? I mean, fucking. I remember once on one of my shifts, it was Saturday night, and a couple walked through the lobby, and this girl that was with the guy had like a bloody fucking nose, and she was like crying. And I don't know exactly what happened. I don't think he hit her or anything. He looked pretty concerned. But there were some people that saw this, and they're like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I'm pretty sure he was lying when he told them, "Oh, she fell." It seemed like a lie. It sounded like a lie to me. So I don't know if she got into a fight or something, but that was kind of brutal. I'm thinking of more intense things, mildly intense. I mean, nothing too bad. Um, fucking. Well, I mean, just like maybe a month or two ago, there was someone came to the front desk and told me that there was a fucking shirtless homeless guy hanging out in the back door lobby that I couldn't see on the surveillance cam because he was like in a corner, so he was like off camera, and I think he knew this. He was doing this on purpose. So I didn't know he was there until she informed me of this. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take care of it. I went down there, and this fucking guy is just like, he's out of his mind. He's like, I don't know what he was on, but he was pretty out of it. I don't know if he was just really drunk or maybe on drugs. But he had a whole bunch of candy for some reason. I don't know. He spent all the money he had on candy, and he was just having like a feast in this fucking lobby. And yeah, I just went up to him like, "Yeah, sorry, man. You gotta go, man. You gotta go." And he calmly, like, slowly gets up, barely able to stand, and he's like dropping Skittles on the floor and shit, but he keeps picking up the Skittles off the floor and just still eating them. It was pretty funny actually, and it's kind of sad. But yeah, this guy was just eating Skittles off the floor. I don't know if that's intense, but it's something worth mentioning. I don't know what else. I don't know what else. Fucking maybe something will come up after this podcast is done, and I'll be like, "Fuck! I should have mentioned that." I don't know. My job is pretty chill for the most part. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to another inbox message here from Lacar. Let me see. She says, "If you could spend a month on tour with a band, who would it be and why?" Yeah, so I thought about this one for a little while, and it would be really difficult to not say Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies, because I mean, fuck, like I don't know how much you guys know about Gigi Allen, but he was a pretty crazy person, and he was very well known for literally, performing in the nude, and literally defecating on stage during the set, and then covering himself in it and throwing it at the audience, and engaging in all sorts of fucking shenanigans during the performance, attacking the audience members. It would get pretty wild sometimes. So it would be pretty exciting to be on tour with those guys. I would try to stay out of trouble and just kind of, view things from afar and try to not participate because I don't want to fucking get involved. But it would be interesting to see, all the shit that happens throughout the tour. because with any other band, it's going to be like, or most other bands, you're going to see them play the same set every night. It would get boring within like 3 nights. But with Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies, it would be a different show every night. And I highly recommend watching the Gigi Allen documentary if you haven't, because it's very entertaining, even if you're not into that kind of music. But it's very entertaining. Highly recommend it. Anyway, that is my answer. And let's see, next question here. Lacar says, if you could only wear one color of sock for the rest of your life, what color would you pick? What about the height of the sock? Ankle, knee highs? It's pretty hard to not say black. I got a lot of black socks. It's just basic. Socks aren't like really too important to me. I just wear like regular tube socks that like go up to the ankle. Yeah, man, just regular black socks will do. Black is pretty standard. Yep, that's my answer. Next. Let's see here. Lacar says, if you had to pick, which of the following sports would you play professionally? A, badminton. B, croquet. C, ping pong. D, darts. E, competitive speed walking. I'm actually not 100% sure what croquet is, so I'm going to actually Google it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I just want to confirm. So let me look at some images here. Yeah, okay, so it's like golf with that little hammer thing. I gotcha. Okay, so yeah, these are like all old people sports. But I would have to go with fucking competitive speed walking for sure. Because, I actually speed walk quite a bit, actually. My house is it's like a 5 or 10 minute walk to a bus stop, and I take the bus all the time. So anytime I leave my house and I have to go somewhere, I always have to do that walk to the fucking bus stop. And I've learned to walk pretty quickly because, I just want to get there as quickly as possible. But every time I fucking want to go out or come back home, I got to do that fucking walk every time. And it really sucks in the winter. But, got to do what you got to do. And I generally walk around pretty quickly anywhere I go. And sometimes I get, people staring at me like, why the fuck's this guy walking so quickly? Where's he going? What the fuck's this guy's problem? But whatever. Whatever. Yeah, so that's my answer. E. Now, let's see. We got another question here from Lacar, and she says, which was your favorite Toy Story and why? If you didn't cry in the third one, you're a robot. I think I've only watched the first one, and that was when I was a kid, so I barely remember anything about it. Yeah, actually, there was somebody who once said that I was the kid from Toy Story, the kid who would torture the toys and stuff. Yeah, they said that was me. Isn't that nice? Anyway, yeah, I guess it would be Toy Story 1. I've never watched 2 or 3. But, yeah, I guess that's my favorite. You got a friend in me. Okay, Badman Dan sends a message here titled Fake Tits. And he says, how hard do you have to slap a bitch in the tit before it pops like a zit? Well, I mean, Dan, fucking those fake tits, man, they're built to last. They're really built to take a lot of abuse and impact. You're gonna have to be fucking pretty strong to just slap a fake tit, and like make saline come out. I think. So you're gonna have to be pretty fucking strong. But on that note, there was this female professional wrestler named Chyna, who used to wrestle for the WWF at the time. She's now dead, by the way. But there was one match where she landed on the mat pretty hard, chest first, if you will, and she had giant fake tits, and one of them actually popped during that incident. So she's a professional, so she kept going through the match, and she's got this one big lopsided fucking part of her chest that's still huge, and the other one is just leaking saline and getting smaller as the match goes on. So that must have been pretty embarrassing and traumatic for her. But I guess if you fucking slam hard enough chest first into the ground, then it will pop. But yeah, she got that shit repaired afterwards, and I guess she was fine. And another interesting fact, she actually got into pornography later in her life after her wrestling career was done. I'm not sure if you guys would be interested in seeing it. She's kind of like a masculine lady because she did use steroids and stuff. But if you're interested, go look it up. China porn. China with Y, by the way. Anyway, thank you for that, Dan. I got another message from Dan here. This one's titled Earthworm Urethra. And he says, if I jammed a big dew worm up inside my cock and then jerked off and came super hard, would the worm shoot out like a wet bullet or just explode inside of me and come out as splatter? I'm very curious about actually how the fuck that would work. I really don't think it would shoot out of you, but I don't think it would explode either. I just think it would block your cum. But I mean, that makes me very curious how that orgasm would work. Like, where the fuck would the cum go? Would it just go back into your nuts? I mean, that would probably feel really fucking weird, right? To have a fucking orgasm where the cum is just trapped inside your dick. That can't be good for you. But then again, sticking a worm up your fucking urethra can't be good for you either. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Dan. I mean, I'm just as curious as you, actually. Maybe I should experiment. Anyway, thank you for that. Batman Dan has another message here. And this one is about a female WireClub user known as, I believe her username is Jer Bear. And she's like a fucking, like a MySpace looking chick. She's like a scene queen. With like pink hair and stuff. But this question is about her for some reason. And Dan asks, if you were making sweet, sweet love to Jer and she was dressed up like those trolls that bingo people bring with giant pink hair, if you started to shake her violently, would that be considered getting lucky? Fucking guy. I don't even know what to say to that one. I would suggest that you try it, Daniel, and then you can come back with the answer for me. Thank you, sir. Okay. I got a message here from Girth. I don't think this is for the podcast, though. He just linked me some guy's profile who is now deleted. Oh, no, the image was deleted. The profile still exists. But yeah, it was just a cringy pic that he sent me here. Let me move on here. Another question from Lakar here. She says, what is your guilty pleasure fast food joint and what is your order? Every like few months I like to go to California Sandwiches. And man, they got like a really fucking good veal sandwich. I believe they actually won an award for their veal specifically. It was voted best veal sandwich by God knows who. But what pisses me off about this place is that they don't fucking deliver, like, at all. They're not on any of those delivery websites like Just Eat or Skip the Dishes or anything. They don't deliver from their website, online. You can't even call them to bring you anything. That pisses me off. But their food is fucking good enough that it'll drag me over there every once in a while to pick up one of those veal sandwiches. And also the chicken sandwich is really good as well. So I get one of each and just have like a giant feast. They're fucking like big sandwiches. I just fucking pig out on that shit. But it's really good. And You know, when you eat a veal sandwich, it's like multiple levels of guilt because you know you're being unhealthy and you're being a fat ass. And not only that, you're eating the flesh of a fucking baby animal that was literally chained down to the floor so that it wouldn't be able to use its muscles so that the fucking meat stays soft. Yeah. So there's a lot of guilt involved in eating that, but it's just so fucking good. It's just so fucking tasty, man. Yeah. But you know, some people say that the more the animal suffers, the more delicious it is. Yeah, probably not. I'm just bullshitting. Anyway, I got a message here from Miss Chaos and Melody, and she just says, "I appreciate you." Okay, thank you. You know, I think she's actually saying that because she feels guilty about saying that I had a Shrek face on, I think it was the previous podcast. Anyway, moving on. This is a good one. Wasn't meant for the podcast, but this guy basically like sends me death threats. It's yeah. So basically, this fella known as the Rock Choppa. Basically, this guy is like he has like a low IQ and he's like just a retard, and he's not very bright. But he likes to come into the Canada chat room and talk a lot of shit sometimes. So basically, what I was doing was I was just continuously using the disavowal power on him, just constantly, so that he couldn't say anything. Just because it was amusing and it was funny to me, and he was really getting pissed off about it too, to the point where he was, you know, he started fucking sending me some death threats and like commenting on my pics, saying like, "Get out of my country, you fucking faggot." And this message, by the way, is titled Faggot. And the Rock Chopper says, "I'll look up your IP address and deal with you in person." Okay. Well, still waiting for that, buddy. I've seen no results from this empty threat so far. It was sent 25 days ago, and yeah, I still haven't heard anything from the Rock Chopper, unfortunately. But you know, anytime he wants to deal with me in person, we can settle it like gentlemen. Anyway, okay, I got a message here from Goodman. It was not for the podcast, just a video he sent me. Got a message from Groove Girl about the podcast. She says she has an idea here that I didn't really use, but she says, "How about we send you pics, and you have to caption them, and you can send to us too. I know you'll send some dank shit, but whatever." Anyway, moving on. Okay, next inbox question thingy. I got one from Miss Ophelia. Okay, this fucking message is about masturbation. She sent me a video about masturbation, an educational video. And, you know, No Nut November is actually coming up. I don't know how many of you are going to participate in that. But I actually experimented with my own sort of No Nut November. It was actually like a New Year's resolution type thingy experiment. So basically, for the whole month of January, I didn't ejaculate at all. So I was curious about what the effects would be, how I would deal with it. It was also like a test of will because I really wanted to come, but I forced myself not to. And you know, in the end, I have to say that I wouldn't really recommend it to not fap. I mean, you got to jerk off. You should do it. It's good for you. Basically, I just got a lot grumpier and my balls got bigger because they were filled with cum. But you know, I also didn't really, I didn't do it properly because I really tortured myself in that month because I still watched porn and I actually still jerked off. I just made it a point to not cum. So it was like fucking torture. I would just fucking jerk off until I was about to, and then I'd stop. I'd force myself to stop. And it was like a real difficult test of will, but I actually went through the whole fucking month without nutting. Not recommended, not recommended. Anyway, here's Ophelia's video. I'm going to play it for you guys. I'm going to turn up the volume here. 1 second, 1 second. Okay, so it's a 3-minute video. I'm going to play all of this just so you guys can learn a little bit about jerking off. Yeah.
Surveys show that 95% of men and around 72% of women have masturbated in their life. But with rumors that it's unhealthy, can cause blindness, and even infertility, can masturbation be good for you? Feeling yourself isn't just for single people. 70% of men and 40% of women in relationships reported masturbating within the 4 weeks leading up to a recent survey. After all, it feels good. Not only is dopamine released, which helps control the brain's reward and pleasure centers, reducing feelings of stress, but other endorphins released during an orgasm can decrease your perception of pain. For women, polishing the pearl can reduce menstrual cramping. And of course, with the help of the hormone prolactin, which is linked to sleep, you're likely to feel exhausted and catch some much-needed Z's. Feel like you're coming down with the cold? One study found that in males, components of the immune system are activated during masturbation, increasing the number of white blood cells in the bloodstream. Solo sessions might also help men reduce cancer, with high ejaculation frequency correlating with a decreased risk of total prostate cancer. Though it's unclear why, researchers hypothesize that increased ejaculation means potential carcinogenic secretions in the prostate are excreted more regularly, decreasing their negative impact on the body. But why have humans and animals evolved to masturbate if it's seemingly a waste of energy or semen in men? Well, it turns out that self-love can actually improve the quality of sperm. A study showed that recent male masturbation reduced the number of sperm inseminated at the next copulation, but not the number retained by the female. From this, it was concluded that masturbation is a male strategy to improve the fitness of their sperm, as younger sperm have a higher likelihood of insemination. Not only that, but masturbation can improve your sexual performance. Both women and men have pelvic floor muscles that stretch from your pubic bone to your tailbone. As we age, these muscles weaken, causing sexual dysfunction in women and erectile dysfunction in men. But stroking the penis or clitoris can activate the bulbocavernosus reflex, resulting in pelvic floor muscles contracting. It's essentially a workout for your sex muscles. Nitric oxide levels also diminish with age and can contribute to a decreased sex drive, but masturbation can help maintain it in your blood throughout your life. But while masturbating does have physiological benefits, it's important to mix up your techniques. Using the same way to get off every time can make you sexually unresponsive to other types of stimulation. This could lead to decreased sexual arousal or performance when it comes time to do the deed with a real-life partner. So make sure you mix it up. At the end of the day, masturbation is a safe and healthy activity, so put on some music, light those candles, and have yourself a good night. And if you truly love science, we have a new t-shirt on sale for 1 more week.
There you go. There you go. Very educational. Thank you very much for that, Ophelia. Hope you guys learned a little bit something about tugging it or playing country on the clitor. Let's see, what else we got here in my inbox? Let's see, you got some more questions from Lacar here. She says, my question to you is, did you ever have frosted tips? If so, do you have a picture to share? Number 2, if you were a gay man, would you fuck the boys from B44 with the high hair and frosted tips? If you get down on me, I'll get down on you. And yeah, so when I was a kid, I had I pretty much had like a fucking afro. Because, I mean, my hair is really thick, and like if I just let it grow, it turns into a fucking afro. So I just shave my head regularly. And I never had frosted tips, and I don't really like having hair at all. So I try to keep it as short as possible, but shaving it can be a bitch sometimes. If I had a picture, I would share with you. If I had a picture of myself with frosted tips. But here's a picture of me when I was a kid with some hair that you can enjoy. If I was a gay man, would you fuck the boys from B44? Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I would assume that I would have some more I would have like better taste. Like I would have taste in dudes who are like more masculine, because those dudes are like some fruit bags, man. Jesus. You know, they're like those fake tanning guys, and they dye their hair. It's just really gross. But maybe I don't know. If I was a gay dude, maybe I would just, you know, fuck whatever. Anyway, that was an uncomfortable question. Thank you for that. Hope that answers it for you. Now another question from Lacar here. She says, if you were to get a face tattoo, what would you get and where on your face? You know, when I was a teenager, I was actually considering doing that. I was, yeah, like I said in my story earlier, I was a fucking troubled youth, and yeah, I had the idea to maybe possibly get some tribal tattoos on my face to look really scary. And you know, I actually got my first tattoo when I was 18 on the back of my head. If you didn't know that, so I do have some tribal shit on the back of my head, and my fucking work management really loves that it's there. Like they love it a lot. Like they love it so much. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. Yeah, but I mean, you know, when I went to the job interview and stuff, I made sure that my hair was long enough that it covered, and so no one would see. Then once I got the job, I shaved my head, not really really short, but enough that you could see this tattoo. And then one day at a work meeting, the property management lady, she fucking saw it, and she was pissed off, and she complained to our boss, and then I was getting shit for it, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna move you to a different site, and you can't have this. You have to grow your hair if you want to stay here." And you know, they're harassing me about it. I don't like that, and I felt like they were infringing upon my rights. So I actually called the union and let them know about that. And then the next time my boss brought it up to me, I was like, "Oh, you know, I actually informed the union of the problem you have with my tattoo, and they would actually like to speak with you." And then I never heard about the tattoo again. So it was a pretty simple solution there for me. Anyway, okay, this is the final question from Lacar here, and yeah, the final question of my inbox actually, and this is probably the gayest one, I gotta tell you. She says, "What is your favorite scent of candle? Are you a candle romance kind of man? I.e., do you have lots of candles readily available when required?" Well, you know, I gotta tell you, I really do not care for candles at all. I mean, I don't mind them, but I'm never gonna be the kind of guy who goes out of his way to light one. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't see the point. I don't see the point. I believe there might be one that my mom has lying around. That's like it's like I don't know, some kind of cinnamon roll bread scented shit. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I have never used candles, and I never plan on it. Anyway, let's see here. So that was the final question in my inbox, and yeah, to be honest with you, I was pretty disappointed by the lack of inbox content that I received. So I made up for it on my own. What I did was I'm in a fucking Facebook group called 4KB of feces posting, and basically I went to these homies over here. Let me find the post. I made a post here. Okay, so yeah, this is a meme group on Facebook dedicated to shitty memes and just shit posting in general. And yeah, I wrote here, "Hey gang, I need a small favor. I'm planning on recording a shitty podcast today and would like to do a Q&A segment. I encourage you to leave as many dank, vulgar questions below as possible. Much thank." And that actually got a heart react from a fella known as Lord Faggot. Anyway, Yeah, so I'm pretty satisfied with the turnout for this shit because, yeah, I got a lot of questions. I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to get this much of a response. But yeah, I got a bunch of questions here. I'm not going to answer all of them because some honestly aren't even worth answering, but they're still worth reading because they're kind of funny. So the first question I got was from one of the moderators, actually, named Jan. And Jan says, "How to kill myself?" Well, there are many different ways. I think if I were to do it, I would probably go like a pussy route, and I would probably, obtain access to some vehicle and then just use it to carbon monoxide poison myself. Not that I've ever thought about doing that at all or anything. Anyway, also, there's this fella named Vincent who replied to pretty much every fucking question here. He just replied with "oof," and I believe that's the sound that the characters do in Roblox when they die. They go "oof, oof." So I don't know. He was having fun there, replying to all this shit. And then a fella named Santo asks, "Ass or tits, boys?" Well, you got to have both. Both are very important. Both are very nice. Both have their different qualities. I personally would have to go with ass. If I had to pick one, I prefer ass. I guess you could call me an ass man. But I mean, tits are wonderful too. But whenever someone asks me, like, am I an ass or tits guy, I always put it this way: I would rather have a girl with a beautiful butt and like not so big tits, rather than the opposite. I like whenever I see a flat ass, it's just a kind of a turn off. It doesn't matter how fucking amazing her tits are. If she has a flat ass, it's just yeah, it ruins everything. And a great example of that would be, I believe, Kate Upton. Yeah, I mean, she has a great rack, but ass not so much. But we all have different assets. Uh, and then a fella named Dominicu asks, "Would you drink ancient Egyptian mummy bones?" Um, I think I would if I was guaranteed that it wouldn't give me any sort of illness. I mean, how could I say no to that? It's like I get to tell people after that I drank ancient Egyptian mummy bones. And I imagine it would just taste fucking awful. I mean, how would you even liquefy that? I mean, is he talking about the bone marrow, like blended into some kind of liquid or some shit? But yeah, I think overall, for the most part, I would say, yeah, I would. I would. And then a fellow named Andre here just says, "Yeet! Yeet!" And Andre's profile picture is a fucking anime-ized vehicle, and it says, "Does this look like the face of mercy?" Yeah, it's a nice profile pic. Very kawaii, as they say, as the kids say. Kawaii. And then a fella named Bayar says, "Is it gay to be wrong?" Yes. Yes, it is, Bayar. It is very gay. Anyway, Dottie says, "Do people make up genders to avoid being called gay?" Yes. Yes, they do. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And then Vincent, the fellow who's been replying with "oof" to every fucking question, he says, "Can the duck?" Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes. The answer is yes. Thomas says, "What if you were doing water sports and you piss in your partner's mouth, but half of it is blood and it mixes in her mouth? What does it taste like?" Uh, well, Thomas, I assume it would taste like happiness. And yeah, just happiness. A fella named Eddie says, "Would you rather?" Oh, this was my favorite question. Eddie hit the nail on the head here. These are the kind of questions I like here. Thank you, Eddie. He says, "Would you rather drink a shot of your dad's cum or maintain eye contact with your mom while you make yourself climax. Yeah, I would definitely rather take a shot of my dad's cum, honestly. That would be really quick, and you know, the suffering would be much, much less than the other option there. 'Cause, I mean, that's just going to be a long, awkward process to jerk off while making eye contact with my mom. It's going to be really, really hard to get off. It's going to take a long time, and it's just going to be every moment, every second of that is going to be suffering, and I will just feel a tremendous amount of guilt and sorrow for my mother as well. But yeah, that's a very good question. I appreciate it, Eddie. Thank you. And then a Asian fella named Lim asks, "Can Michael Jackson say the N-word?" Well, unfortunately, he cannot, mainly because he is dead. A fella named Tikrai asks, "Would you rather suck one dick 10 times or rather suck 10 dicks one time?" This answer really depends on the dicks that are involved here. If you gave me like 10 okay dicks versus one gigantic, really gross dick that's like covered in herpes and stuff and sores, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with the 10 dicks. But if you give me like one dick that isn't gigantic and is healthy and not disgusting, then I would have to go with the one dick. And yeah, I'd suck it 10 times. Yeah, that's pretty much it. A fella named Rodney says, "Can I, with this name, to be pro and anti this is, you to go to this bread?" Yeah, Rodney's fucking with me here. Thank you for that, Rodney. And a fella named TN says, "Anal?" Well, the answer to that, TN, is yes. Yes. Anal! But not gay anal. Hetero anal. Okay. A fella named Christian says, "Penis length, and are you proud of it?" Well, I mean, my penis length is okay. I wouldn't say I'm proud of it. Well, the thing about my dick is like, honestly, I mean, when I'm flaccid, it looks pretty pathetic. I got to tell you, it looks pretty pathetic. But I'm what is known as a grower. Basically, when I'm fully erect, my dick, it really grows substantially, like a surprising amount. Yeah, I mean, if you see my flaccid penis, you probably wouldn't imagine that it grows as much as it does when it's at its max. But yeah, when I'm hard, it's pretty decent. It's okay. I haven't had complaints in that department in terms of the size. So yeah, I think I'm okay with it. It's all right. It's all right. So a fella named Peel, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Where the hell's this guy from? He's from wow, I don't even know how to pronounce the place he's from. How the hell do you pronounce that? Gdynia? Gdynia? What the fuck is that? Anyway, this guy's name is spelled Piotr. Piotr. This one's a very good question as well. He says, "Should minorities and women's and Negroes have rights?" Fuck no, man. We all know that they shouldn't. That would just be dumb to give them rights. That's stupid. Fuck that shit. Anyway. And then a fella named Troby actually responded saying, implying that's even a question. Yeah, so Troby knows what's up. A fella named Guram says, "Do twins have same pee-pee?" Absolutely. They share the same dick. Even if they're females, they share the same dick. But another question from Troby here. Troby says, "If almost every account of the Holocaust are from those who have a monopoly on it and its returns, or were derived from German troopers in cruel, unreliable ways which are now very illegal, how can we trust anything happened the way we've been told? So obviously Troby is questioning the Holocaust here. But I mean, in short, the answer to his question is we can't. We can't really trust the way we've been told. You know, you have to question it. Yeah, man. You have to question things. It's very important. You can't just fucking blindly believe everything you're told, even if it's in a history book. And Troby continues, and he says, and another question, and why were the camps that supposedly had a much higher body count ordering the same amount of Zyklon B as much less lethal work camps? See, he knows what he's talking about here. He's done some research, and he's pointing out the logical fallacies involved with what we've been told. So come to your own conclusions there. Now, Lord Faggot, the man who gave my post a heart react, he says, am I bi or just gay? Well, I don't know. I think that depends on whether or not you prefer men over the chicks. You know, if you're more attracted to men and, you know, you're telling yourself you still like chicks, you're probably gay. You're probably gay. You know, you're just kind of in denial and pretending to like women. Anyway, yeah, and then a fella named Nate responds to this, and he says, gay. And Lord Faggot gave that an angry react. And he says, shut up, Nate. And then there's a nice little ending to this thread here from a fella named Luca, who basically just posted, well, here's the picture right here. Yeah, man. My boy CJ from San Andreas getting lit with that faggot Drake. Anyway. Yeah, man. I think that's the end of the podcast and the end of this entire series. So, yeah, man. It's been a decent ride. I've harvested a lot of lulls. I've had a good time with this shit. This is the last episode. I think I've pissed off enough people with this as well. There was at least a handful of people who got pissed off at this for some reason. But thank you for the few people who actually listened to this shit and got some laughs out of it, some cheap entertainment. Thank you for listening. And I think that's all I have to say. Goodbye.